I was in good health, walking on my own legs. My job was a driver. However, I decided to go to Nyamongo in search of wealth. I encountered problems and I was shot. I was shot on the right side and the bullet exited on the left side, which caused me to paralyze from the waist down.
This
is Mr. Samuel Mwita Nyongore, one of the survivors of a shooting who narrowly escaped death invading North Mara Gold with his colleagues in Nyamongo Tarime district, northern part of Tanzania. He recounts the ordeal that left him with permanent disability amid claims that international human rights organizations have benefited from the victims' suffering. Welcome to this episode of Focus News, where today we'll focus on the grievances and claims of victims who were shot at the North Mara Gold Mine and how the organization defending these victims are benefiting from their sufferings. Activists and organizations defending victims of the likes of these incidents at the North Mara Mine have been accused of profiting from the victims' suffering by claiming a substantial portion of the compensation provided by the mine compared to what the victims actually receive. The North Mara Gold Mine, jointly owned by Barrick Gold and the Tanzanian government through Trigger Minerals Corporation, has faced a wave of people invading the mine with the intent to steal gold-bearing ores. These invaders, armed with traditional weapons such as machetes, dagger, bows and spears, confronts police forces in broad daylight. In such confrontations, both the invaders and police have been severely injured, with some fatalities. When such incidents occur, human rights activists intervene to advocate for the victim to receive compensation. One such case involves Mr. Samuel Mwita Nyongore, a resident of Kiriba Village, Sirari Ward, Tarime District, Mara Region, in Tanzania. He and others were involved in the incident after invading the mine in 2011 during a clash with police officers who were trying to prevent the crime. There was a fierce confrontation and he was shot and severely injured.
I could not understand how much was being paid. I only received 150 million shillings, which I was given through a check. I was not told if it was my compensation, and I received it while in the hospital. I could not refuse the money. When someone gives you assistance, you cannot always know their true intention. Later, I realized that this payment was intended as a compensation for my injuries. Eventually, my children came to tell me that those who helped me with this case had taken a large amount of money compared to what I received. They took nearly 700 million shillings, but I only got 150 million.
While undergoing treatment, lawyers from the UK fame Lady came to their aid to seek compensation, and they filed a lawsuit against Acacia Mining, which owned and operated the North Mara Mine at the time. Before the case was concluded, the parties reached a settlement out of court, with Acacia Mining agreeing to compensate the victims in 2015. Mr. Nyongore, who was still hospitalized during this period, recalls being visited by a Tanzanian lawyer, another foreign lawyer, who gave him a check for 150 million shillings. He later discovered that the amount paid by the mine as compensation to him was significantly higher than what he received from Lady. Focus News has reviewed some of Samuel Mwita Nyongore's document showing that the mine paid a compensation amount of 387.54 million shillings, of which it received 150 million shillings, which is 38.6%, while Leyday took 237.84 million shillings, equal to 61.4%. The invasion of the North Mara gold mine, which has caused significant harm not only to those who invade in search of gold ores, but also to police officers and mine guard, is reported to be exploited by these activists who benefit from the victims' plight. This has been criticized not only by the victims, but also by some local activists who claim that the activists are not truly advocating for human rights, but rather profiting from the victims' suffering. Peter Timasi is the chairman of the Mujata, Muungano wa Jamii Tanzania, an organization with the main agenda to combat wrongs in Tanzania.
But what is worse is that those who go to defend the victims, which are human rights organizations from the UK and Canada, claim very high fees that are paid by the mine. But the compensation received by the victims is very minimal and does not match the suffering they endured. The root of all these problems is the limited understanding among the people. Their knowledge is inadequate. They cannot see that these activists are deceiving them and giving them small amount of money.
If someone believes they've suffered and deserve compensation and decides to go to court using legal services, according to Tanzanian law, a lawyer should be paid according to the lawyer's fees Act of 2015, which specifies payment percentages. Nicholas Majbele is lawyer from Brightmark Attorneys in Mwanza.
For claims ranging from 30 million to 70 million shillings, a lawyer should be paid 80 and 10%. For claims from 70 million to 150 million shillings, they should be paid 5 and 8%. For claims from 150 million to 400 million shillings, they should be paid 3 and 7%. And for claims exceeding 400 million shillings, a lawyer should be paid 3%.
At the North Mara gold mine, incidents of shooting invaders accused of stealing gold ores have been reported in the past years, with human rights activists stepping in to assist victims, including filing lawsuit. One such fame, Leyday from the UK, which has managed various cases for these victims, is being criticized by Mr. Samuel Mwita Nyongore for profiting from his suffering by taking a large portion of the compensation while the victims received only a small amount. However, Leyday has strongly denied these allegations, stating that clients' payment details are confidential in response to questions asked via email. The head of our communications at the fame, Carlin Avizon, said,
"The details of our currency settlement are confidential. They were explained clearly to every client. What you can say is that due to the intensity at which African Barrick Gold defended of the litigation and its duration, the legal costs in this case were significant. However, no money allocated to clients' compensation was deducted for legal costs. On the contrary, Leyday voluntarily agreed to reduce the amount they took for legal fees and gave the remainder to the clients on the top of the compensation they received from the defendants."
It is reported that these activists claim in obtaining justice, but when compensation payments are made, they take a significant share between 60% and 70%, while the victims receive only 30% to 40%. These cases have been handled outside Tanzanian courts. Waitara, the Member of Parliament for Tarime Rural, acknowledged these complaints from some of the victims of these incidents.
For instance, in one such case, the compensation was supposed to be 358 million Tanzanian shillings. However, the victim only received 150 million Tanzanian shillings. He was the one with the grievance. Therefore, if Lidey claims to defend the vulnerable, he should have been given the full amount of 358 million shillings. Instead, he received only 150 million shillings and had 280 million shillings deducted. So, while Lidey claimed to be advocating for the people, in reality, they are the main beneficiaries.
And with that, we wrap up this edition where we delved into the concern and complaints raised by victims affected by the Rosado situation at the gold mine in the Tarime region. We appreciate your attention and hope this discussion sheds light on the critical issues at hand. Stay tuned for more updates and in-depth reports on this and other important topics. Thank you for joining us.